Alright, you know what? The first video of this series did well, so here's another. This is a character that I have seen many people in the Beyblade fandom say got nerfed after the first season of Metal Fight. The downfall of Yu has been talked about all over YouTube for a while now, so I definitely won't be the first to cover this topic. However, I don't see any harm in throwing my hat into the ring, and I believe I can discuss this in a different way compared to other videos discussing Yu's downfall.
Sensational.
But first, for those who are new, what is Character Rescue? This is a series where I discuss characters who I believe didn't reach their full potential. Whether it be for plot reasons, annoying reasons, just plain bad writing, you get the gist.
Hey, that's pretty good.
This series is called Character Rescue because it is based on the title of the reality TV show Bar Rescue, a show where John Taffer, a bar consultant, rescues failing bars. In that vein, I am rescuing characters by outlining the problems that they have in their writing and how I would fix them. Do I think I do a better job of writing them than the original showrunners? Well, I wouldn't be making this series if I didn't, now would I? The second subject of this series is Tendo Yu. The Beyblade he uses is Flame Libra T125ES. It's a stamina-type Beyblade, a Bey that primarily relies on lasting longer to get wins rather than having a shit ton of power like an attack type, or having a shit ton of defensive power like a defense type. However, you wouldn't know that with how much power this fucking Bey has. Yeah, you see that, right? A beam coming from a spinning top that is directly destroying the roof of a building. As you can see, Yu and Libra are no joke, at least until Metal Baku, but we'll get to that as we go through this character's history. However, first, a disclaimer. This character's history is very long in comparison to Hikaru's, go watch that video if you haven't already. I will do my best to make this reading as short and as concise as possible, but if you do feel bored partway through because of all the details, I do apologize. Also, thank you all for your support on the Makoto video, it really means a lot to me, and if you like the content, go like and subscribe.
Stop talking!
Now, let's get into it.
Let's get it started!
First, let's start with Metal Fight, aka Metal Fusion. Tendo Yu is introduced as a blader who is alone in a desert looking for strong opponents. The Dark Nebula learns of his existence, and of course, since Daidoji and Ryuga want strong bladers for their organization, they're gonna go out of their way to recruit this kid. When they land, Yu launches his Bey at Ryuga and Daidoji, and of course, Ryuga wins with overwhelming power from El Drago,
Hot dog!
sadly being Yu and giving him his first loss in his entire life. This unfortunately turns Yu into something horrible, a Ryuga fanboy. Later on, Yu participates in Beyblade meets Fortnite, aka Survival Island Battle Royale, where 100 bladers battle each other to be the last one standing, complete with random drop items you can find on the island. Well, only the one time for a stupid gag. Jeez, forget Fortnite, this is just PUBG but lamer. Or Radical Heights, for that matter. Yu's first encounter with Ginga and friends is actually rather positive, as he helps Kenta get to a medical tent after he injures his arm. Then, he shows off his natural battle fever and desire to fight anything that moves by challenging Hikaru, Benkei, and Kenta to a Bey battle all at the same time, and demolishes them like they're some randoms. Afterwards, Yu gets into the final battle royale match with Kyoya and Ginga, two of the other strongest bladers besides Ryuga and Daidoji up to that point, and beats, well, only Ginga, while Kyoya withdrew because Leone's performance tip had a crack and had to be reeled in by Madoka's efforts to not destroy his vulnerable Bey's part. This allowed Yu to win the Battle Royale and was rewarded with one wish that the WBBA would grant no matter what. Please do not put this in the hands of Timmy Turner.
Castle, Wanda, I wish for a fabulous tweet BF, complete with floor miniskirt. We've been over this! You are 10 years old!
His wish was Battle Bladers, which was what the Dark Nebula wanted all along, as they fly to the island on a helicopter and reveal Yu is one of their members, much to the shock of Ginga and friends. Alright, that was a long-winded explanation, and I even had to try to cut down on some details, but based on this, what have we learned about Yu so far? Well, for one, he is a really strong blader, as the story goes out of its way to communicate multiple times. Hell, for a majority of Metal Fight's story, Yu was considered Dark Nebula's number 2, only surpassed by Ryuga. However, what the story is also trying to communicate is that Yu is also a decent person despite being part of the Dark Nebula, as shown when he went out of his way to take Kenta to a medical tent. I just know that act alone tickles so many Fujoshis. In fact, when you consider how much of a battle junkie he is, he kinda aligns more with Ginga and friends, but the Dark Nebula got to him first, and he unfortunately became a Ryuga Glacier. After this, Yu would tie with Tsubasa, but then would get a win versus Hyoma, all the while trying to get points himself to get into Battle Bladers. In a Battle Royale match, he and Tsubasa would fall to Ginga's new special move, but that was more so due to the fact both he and Tsubasa were competing to see who would battle Ginga solo. Afterwards, Yu would of course get the necessary points to enter Battle Bladers and would be met with a first round battle with Ginga. And despite giving Ginga a really tough fight, including unveiling a fucking sandstorm against him.
Huh?
Yeah, I know, Spain top bullshit. Moving on, Ginga with his perfected special move would hand Yu a first round exit, and the kid actually warms up to Ginga again after learning the wonders of having fun in Beyblade, even in defeat. This is a pretty good bit of development for Yu as a character, as he learns to have fun in Beyblade even when taking an L, which he's not really gonna learn in an environment where winning and being strong is heavily prioritized. In other words, he learned how to have fun, which is some pretty nice character development. I'd also make the argument that Yu is one of the better characters in Beyblade's first season. Unfortunately, this development was costly, as Daidoji was like,
Nigga, did I just catch you having fun?
And was about to send this kid to be fed to Ryuga's El Drago, as in his soul would be swallowed by the damn monster. As a human with a desire for self-preservation, Yu protested this, so he battled Reiji, the guy that was entrenched in Dark Nebula bullshit, can use dark moves, and enjoys breaking bays as much as Bonnie Blue enjoys Schlon.
Oh, snap!
Because of this, he is the Dark Nebula's new number 2, and it took everything in Yu's power to get away with only a broken bay and some injuries. Well, at least he learned Ryuga ain't shit. And that's about it for Yu in Metal Fight. He does help motivate Kenta in his fight against Reiji, even though Reiji would pimp smack him in that match even after he put up a great fight. And then he gets kidnapped by the Dark Nebula because Daidoji was insistent on saying Yu to have his soul sucked out by El Drago. Okay, major pause there. But he doesn't fight again for the rest of the season, as we have to deal with all the bullshit from the final arc. And that's fine, as Yu's character arc for a season was complete and he has a bay that needs to be fixed. If we take only the first season, Yu has a pretty good arc. Well, for this series' standards anyways, and shows himself to be a really strong blader. Yes, he did lose in the first round, but admittedly, if he had gone up against anyone else besides Kyoya, Tsubasa, Ryuga, Reiji, or, of course, the fucking main character, he'd have gone further in the tournament. And with all this in mind, it makes you wonder how much will improve when we get to Season 2, especially since he is probably now top 5 in Japan with Reiji out of the picture, Daidoji on the run, and Ryusei now the head of the WBBA. What's that? You wanna know what happened to Reiji? Don't ask, no one knows what happened to him.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Unfortunately, that's not what ended up happening. Yu got dropped back down to 6 when Masamune decided to come back to Japan to challenge Ginga, and actually interrupted a fight between him and Tsubasa. He then takes a bunch of L's to name characters, losing to Masamune and Tsubasa back-to-back times in the World Championship Selection Tournament for Japan. Good news though, he still gets on. Bad news, he's a substitute, just in case one of the main 3, Ginga, Masamune, and Tsubasa, can't participate in any matches for some reason. As for his World Championship performance, he got a solo win against Alexei, I guess?
Oh my god! Wow!
But besides that, Tsubasa carried in the tag matches they were in together, and he took a nasty L to Enzo in Team Cheaters number 2. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean the Garcias. While his bay was damaged, I have some words about this match. Especially since this was the last time he ever battled in the World Championships.
Oh, come on!
That's right, he didn't battle again after this, because Damon decided to be a dick and injure him and Tsubasa. He also didn't battle during the assault on Hades City, well, at least against named characters. He did help get Ginga out of a nasty situation and destroy Jack's arrangement system. Good. Fuck him in Team Cheers number 3. In Metal Fight 4D, he would have a bit of a role despite not being a legendary blader, as he helped Kyoya get off his grumpy phase, while also leading him to another legendary blader, and helped with the final battle against Rago and his desire to destroy the world. All in all, not bad considering the fact Metal-Fight 4D was shorter than previous seasons, and had its own set of problems as a whole. However, the stench of Metal Baku still lingers, and you will see, to this day, people talk about how the writers nerf you after Metal Fight. So, with all of the character's history out of the way, let's finally talk about Yu's problems and how to solve them.
Finally!
The first problem is that after the first season of Metal Fight, he was nerfed. Or was he? See, this is the question we have to answer before we can actually fully get into this. While the consensus is that Yu was nerfed, there are people who will bring up the counter-argument that he wasn't nerfed, there were just better bladers who were on the same tier or were better than him that came along. On the surface, this makes sense. Yu no longer served the same narrative purpose, and he wasn't really a true top 5 player by the end of the season, only by technicality if we take out Reiji, Daidoji, and Ryusei from that equation. So considering this is the entire world we are talking about, it's reasonable to say there were bound to be players who were going to be better than him on World Tournament teams. However, I have a counter to that of my own based upon evidence in the show. First, as I mentioned before, Yu in his final bout with Ginga used a sandstorm to cover the entire stadium. Does he use this again during the entirety of Metal Baku?
Nope.
Nope, not a single time. Oh, but what about this statement here where Yu says, right here, so what happened during that Wells and Sophie fight? He got submerged in water, actually in both fights, not even attempting to move it out of the way. Now, I do understand that Wells and Sophie's water feint is just air that looks like water, but one, if he can push water and fire, I don't think it would necessarily be impossible he'd be able to push air just like those two elements. Two, he didn't even know it was air, so he had no reason to panic like this and let all this happen. Like, he didn't even question why Libra wasn't able to push away the water with its vibrations, which he has done before. And three, even if he knew it was air, Yu has been shown to be able to judge the speed and strength of wind to find tiny openings, as displayed when he battled Kyoya and Ginga during Beyblade PUBG. Even if Leone did have a broken part, it still does not take away from the fact Yu has incredibly sharp eyes. With this in mind, you cannot deny that, in some way, Yu was nerfed by the show.
But wait, there's more.
Like, he showed off the ability to change the frequency of his last Judgment Inferno in his battle against Tsubasa to make it into a rainbow, and he never used it again. He can't even keep his power-ups during the season, let alone the previous season. But, well, with that in mind, if that's the case, then the first problem is easily fixed, right? Which is just not nerf him. Have him use more of his toolset in battles, right, with it in mind, and that should make all the issues go away, right? Well, no. And that leads me to my next point, and this is where I had to actually do some research. Despite being a pretty significant member on Gone Gone Galaxy, even if as a sub, there's not a lot done with Yu's character during this season. Yes, there was obviously the time where he feels like shit because he's a substitute and not a main member, and that means he gets less opportunities to battle, but then he's able to get his confidence back when he beats the leader of the worst team in the entire tournament, aka the long-lost Team Cheaters #1. Well, at least they kind of had an excuse because they wanted to continue being astronauts and fly them in a spaceship like Kanye West. Man, this show did the Russian team so dirty. They were so bad.
That shit is a 2-pack of ass.
In tag battles with Tsubasa, he gets carried by Crash Out Tsubasa and Post Crash Out Tsubasa. He does have a moment where he actually does help uncrash out Tsubasa during the second Wells and Sophie battle, but there feels like more should be done with him during the season. I mean, Tsubasa had a whole overarching arc that lasted even until the Garcia battle, Masamune had a whole arc dedicated to him being a fraud and wanting to help Toby, And Ginga had a whole arc with him having a rocket launcher but only shooting rubber pellets until Ryuga told him to switch to rockets instead. This kind of leaves you as the odd man out despite there being potential for more. Now, someone is going to try to counter that Yu was not on the World Championship team in the original Metal Fight manga, but here's the thing, neither was Tsubasa. It was literally the Masamune and Ginga show. You're telling me you can write an overarching narrative with Tsubasa for the entire season? You can barely do anything with Yu? If you're gonna include these characters in the narrative, I at least expect you to do more with them, and the writers did do that with Aquila Man, but not Libra Man. So, what's the solution? Obviously, we gotta find better ways to include Yu in more battles and the overarching narrative. The only question is how.
How, Sway?
I definitely try to make him more of a part of the battle between Demore and Benkei, because, like, come on. Dude could have sent them flying with the Last Judgment Inferno, especially if he does the Rainbow one. Even if you want to showcase more Tsubasa crashing out, there definitely could have been done more with you during that fight. Demore and Benkei are pretty good at attacking, but they aren't that strong. At least give me something! I'd also have him win that battle with Enzo, or at the very least tie. Look, I get it. His Bay was damaged. I don't care. I have seen this dude pull out an insane second win even with his Bay broken. And him not getting one win against the Garcias, or the Gracias, after all that was annoying, especially after the bullshit they pulled against him. And it was even worse, since it was against Amazing, huh? Amazing, huh? Amazing, huh? God, the combination of the dub voice and his character just makes me eternally hate Enzo. Sub voice is alright though. As for lack of an impact during the Hades City arc, I actually really like the concept of a battle with Arrangement Argo from Bizarre Interest Productions. If you like the idea and you want to hear what dude has to say on that one, then I'll link the video in the description for you to watch. As for narrative, what could have been done there is we lean into Yu's insecurities, although a bit more expanded. Yu, instead of feeling just insecure of whether or not he's a real member of Gongon Galaxy, will feel insecure about his place amongst the group in terms of strength, especially since he is definitely the weakest amongst the team. He realizes how far he is falling behind and actually gets to him. But it also inspires him to get off his ass, inspires him to do something we don't really see him do, which brings me to the final problem that needs addressing. Training, or the lack of it. Something to take note of in the Mel series is that despite Yu being such a prominent character in the early seasons, we never really see him train. Now, I am not saying that he didn't train at all. He clearly did if this sandstorm is anything to go off of. However, unlike with Ginga, unlike with Kyoya, unlike with Ryuga, hell, even unlike with Tsubasa, we don't get to see an on-screen solo train arc with Yu. The one time we get it in Baku, it is to increase the entire team's teamwork. You're telling me you can show off Masamune and Ginga doing a mock train battle before the qualifiers, but not give me some time dedicated to a Yu train arc? Or at least show some on-screen training when you gave all these guys solo train montages and such? Obviously, the solution is to give him an arc or at least a montage like that. Hell, it's pretty likely that while Yu probably was trained off-screen to get some of this stuff, it's also possible the train was very minimal. Imagine if he trained as hard as even Tsubasa, for example. We might legit see the Frieza effect. That Inferno about to turn golden like the Huntrix song.
Really, dude?
And yeah, I know in Fury you technically had a train arc, but come on, this ain't a real Beyblade train arc. This shit's too normal, and he'd be the poster child for one of those Sylvan Learning commercials you'd seen in the 2000s. Bladers can lose 2.5 months of whatever skills they had.
Keep them on track. Call Sylvan at 1-800-EDUCATE.
I need something more absurd. You get to bench pressing now! Now, that's about it for my solutions, but I want to address one more thing. Should Yu have been a legendary blader in Metal Fight 4D? Unlike with Hikaru, where I absolutely love that concept, I lean more towards no. I think the potential evolution could be interesting, but that could be addressed by giving him an upgrade like Masamune got. I don't think Yu being a legendary blader really adds to his character either, even if I included the changes here. Unlike Hikaru, who in both of the scenarios I presented in my video right here, either has her one-time desire to fulfill her mom's dream, now thrusts her as someone who will save the world, or after going through an entire season where she finally picks up the pieces from the Ryuga bullshit, she makes a triumphant return, stronger than ever, and ready to stand and protect the world as a legendary blader. With you, however, it might actually add more to his character that despite not being a legendary blader, he can still kick ass with an evolved Beyblade that doesn't have the star fragment since dude is a wonderkin. It also doesn't help that even with Yu's shortcomings in Baku, at least he had a prominent role in the story and didn't become a secretary like Hikaru. But I could be wrong, I'm not infallible after all, and I am a bit picky when it comes to choosing legendary bladers. Hell, I wouldn't even make Ryuga a legendary blader at first. Insert El Drago bullshit, and you can probably guess where I'm going with that idea.
He's too dangerous to be left alive.
But if you agree or disagree with me, let me know in the comments below. And that's about it for this video. If you like the content, make sure to like and subscribe. If you have thoughts and opinions on the video, let me know in the comments below. And next video should be a slander scripture, but for now, I'm gonna be signing out. Peace, bye-bye. See ya.
Those darn nipples!